let me start with a question. So why? Why would a big pharma company like Johnson & Johnson be here? And why would be entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in the biomedical field, want to join with us or to collaborate with us? So first, who we are. So, well, Johnson & Johnson, you know, it's a very well-known company worldwide. And every time I say that I work for Johnson & Johnson, everybody raises their hand to their head because that's what everybody thinks about. It's shampoo and baby products and things like that. Well, that's true, but that's only part of the two. So in reality, Johnson & Johnson is made up of three main divisions. The one that everybody knows is the one that we call consumer, and it deals with shampoos, baby products, and things like that. But this is actually the smaller one. Then there's another big one dealing with medical devices, and the third one, which has another name, that is Janssen, is the one that is dealing with pharma products. It's also a very complex company. So in fact, it's a family of companies, more than 250. We are present worldwide. As you can see there, more than 175 countries and more than 100,000 employees. Within Johnson & Johnson, this very old company, one thing that has been crucial to the company and to the DNA of the company since it was started more than 100 years ago is that we are based on innovation. So what we do depends on the innovation that comes from universities, from biotechs. This has always been the case. So in fact, it only made a lot of sense that at some point in time, we as, I think, all other or most other big pharma companies decided that we needed to step into the open innovation world. And the solution to that, in a very much Johnson & Johnson way, was to create another company, which is called Johnson & Johnson Innovation. Johnson & Johnson Innovation was created in 2013. This is the company that I'm representing here, and its main goal is trying to make deals, trying to collaborate with external innovators in the fields of interest of J&J. As you can see there are several divisions within J&J Innovation. We have JBD, which stands for Janssen Business Development. So this is not new. This is what the company had always been doing, buying stages that were buying assets that were in later stage, which, yeah, it's sort of working, but on the other hand, these assets are expensive and they are not always risk-free. Then we have J Labs. I will explain a little bit more about this later, but this is the incubator of Johnson & Johnson. JJDC, this is the venture capital branch. These are the guys that really have the financial muscle. And then last but not least, we have the innovation centers. As I said, this started in 2013, but this is our current footprint worldwide. As you can see, it all started from the US, and you can see that there is a great cluster of J Labs, of innovation centers in the northern coast of the US. But then you can see that it has been expanding slowly but steadily, and now it's covering Europe and also East Asia. Okay, so what does each of these divisions do? JBD, I will start here. JBD, Janssen Business Development. They are dealing with later stage assets. Typically, they deal with assets that already have a proof of concept in man, which is in pharma, typically, this is after the limit between phases 2A and 2B. JJDC, this is the venture funding. This is the financial group of J&J. They make investments. They make a strategic investment. That means that basically they act as the financial arm of all the other parties, providing the money where the scientific opportunity has been, when the scientific opportunity has been cleared. J Labs is a network of incubators from the company. So there, what we do is that we lend the space. We actually rent the space, also for companies that are in our areas of interest and that we believe on. And finally, the most visible phase, the innovation center. The innovation centers is a set of, let's say, offices. They are not really big, located around the world and which have a geographic scope. So the one I'm working for and that covers Europe is based in London. And here you can see some examples of what you can expect from the innovation centers. From advice and mentorship, up to from going through R&D collaborations, new company creation. At the end of the day, could be licensing and also acquisition of new companies. How do we work? Because, well, I said that we want to do open innovation. We want you to make deals with us. We want to be the partner of choice, as everyone else, of course. So one thing that is very flexible is the structure. So we don't have a template that means that we have to do a deal in a certain way. It depends. It's very case-specific, and we can go from, as you could see in the previous slide, from just advice until the end where it is an acquisition. And then in the ICs, what you see is the most important people probably are the scientific leads. Then you have the new venture leads, people such as myself who are representing on each country. And then we have the deal makers, people in transactions, finance, and legal, who are helping make the deals. Very important, in which fields are we making the deals? In our areas of interest, in the three sectors, consumer, pharma, and medical devices. But within each sector, we have a very well-defined list of priorities that you can see in our website, that is in the last slide. For instance, in pharma, we are present in all these disease areas. You could think of this as being very, very broad in scope, but the fact is that we are very focused on diseases. For instance, for the example of neuroscience, we are active in neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and also in mood disorders such as the treatment-resistant depression. So just as my final slide, what have we done so far? Because, well, I've been talking for these 10 minutes about what we want to do, how we are doing it, but just to let you know some examples of things that we have done in this country since we started. So we have done co-investments. So, for instance, we are in a company in Barcelona, Aelix, co-investing with other VCs in Spain. We have more research collaborations. We have signed MTAs with companies also within the countries to test their drugs into our assays. We have done calls for projects, that's the A2D2, which we are doing from Galicia, and there we are now incubating two early projects, and trying to move them up to the stage where they are attractive enough for investment by VCs or big companies. And then, last but not least, we are also very active trying to foster the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, for instance, this is one example, Johnson & Johnson Innovation Days. We brought a series of talks on bioentrepreneurship last year to Barcelona, and in fact, a couple of weeks ago, we gave those speeches in Madrid. Because at the end of the day, what we want is to create, to collaborate, to become an active partner in the ecosystem in Spain, trying to help establish new companies, because, well, as the founder of the Janssen part, Paul Janssen, used to say, the patients are waiting. We are all on the same side. We want to bring new products to the market, new solutions for patients, and we are here to collaborate. So there you can see our website, the URL of our website, and I will be around for the rest of BioSpain. So just feel free to ask me if you spot me around. Thank you very much.
Thank you so. Thanks, Antonio. The next company is Eli Lilly.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for attending this session. I'm representing Eli Lilly. Just for those that don't know about it, we have a research center in Madrid, in Alcobendas, at the north of Madrid, and we are 120 scientists working there in quantitative biology, medicinal chemistry, synthetic chemistry, computational analytical technologies. Also, we have a group of biotechnology. So we are a research center, and we are open to discuss with you the opportunities. And also, I like to talk about the Big Cassette. This is an opportunity that we started offering last year. Lilly is one of the first companies that put in place the concept of open innovation. That was back in 2008. And we started with a screening offering where we offer to external partners the opportunity to screen their compounds in our targets in strategic areas of interest. That was what we did at the beginning, but at the time we were growing this opportunity, we added new offering opportunities. One of them was because some of these groups were groups from organic chemistry, from the academia. They didn't have any expertise in medicinal chemistry, so we offered the opportunity to have in silico tools for designing and prioritizing compounds, as they didn't know exactly what to do. So we open another view of collaboration through an in silico, a collection of in silico tools, and then we offer also the opportunity for those that didn't have access to synthesize compounds for a particular project. For example, imagine compounds that have been in your lab for years, and right now there is nobody that is working on this area any longer. So we offer our automation synthesis lab to be used remotely. And we also offer the opportunity to acquire compounds, external compounds that had a big dissimilarity or a low similarity with our collection. And something that we added in the last years is the opportunity to collaborate with different institutions in the neglected and tropical diseases area. We established a collaboration with TICOF, the Tres Cantos Institute, with IDRI, and also with MMB to test the compounds that we were collecting in OIDD in several indications. And at the same time, we partnered with Elanco, one of our divisions, our animal health division, in order to test the OIDD compounds in several of their assays. But something that is new that was started last year and that will be our first priority for next year and beyond is the biology offering. That is focused on working with academic institutions and small biotechs or research centers to identify and validate novel targets through a collection of compounds coming from Lilly. This is what we call the Big Cassette. In the Big Cassette, we established a collaboration with external institutions, academic research centers, or biotechs. And as soon as they are interested in a novel target that fits in our area of interest, we can establish an MTA agreement. As a consequence of this MTA agreement, we send our big cassettes. There are 5 different big cassettes, depending on what the external partners want to test. And as a result of this screening, the biological results are uploaded in our database, and we provide the structures of the active compounds. There will be more information about the process in the next slide. So we start with a proposal. So the groups that want to collaborate with us submit their proposals via our OIDD platform. And they provide a non-confidential package describing the biological hypothesis, and also they have to answer a questionnaire that allow us to see which are the capabilities and also the scientific interest. Lilly evaluate the proposals based on the different biological hypotheses. The institution, the external institution, needs to have the capacity to screen the Big Cassette. That is a collection of compounds disclosed already in the public domain. I'll give more information in the next slide. And this cassette comes pre-plated and also ready for screening. So there is nothing that needs to be done here. Everything is prepared. And the selected proposals that can be either phenotypic or target-based has to be aligned with our areas of interest. You will see which they are the areas of interest later, and potentially relevant to search and disease biology. And as a result of the signature of an MTA, we will provide the Big Cassette, and we will start the collaboration. So the participants receive the big cassette. Once that the compounds are tested, they upload the results in our OIDD platform, and if actives have been obtained, Lilly facilitates the structural information of those active molecules. And these results may form the basis for a collaboration, or if the external partner or Lilly doesn't want to continue with the collaboration, well, the results can be used for publications or for grants. What means that the compounds are in the public domain? That means that the compounds have been either patented or published before, or they are known, the structure is known in the public domain. However, the compounds are not commercially available. What can a company or a research center do with a compound that is in the public domain? Well, they will need a little bit of work in the structure of the compound in order to create the IP position, doing the necessary changes, functional changes in the molecule that allow us to keep the activity without losing the properties, and may open a space for a new IP position. So this is what needs to be done. The compounds are not commercially available. They cannot be found in the Presswick or LOPAC or NIH collection, and some other databases like in Molecules, Chembol, and also we remove compounds that were considered promiscuous in our internal screenings. And those compounds are not singleton. We have several bigs. There is one big that is 21K samples, almost 21,000 compounds, and we feel that there are approximately 1,000 scaffolds. And on those scaffolds, there are several compounds from each scaffold, depending on the structure. Some scaffolds may have more analogs than others, but certainly there are no singletons in this cassette. There is another cassette that is smaller. It contains 4,000 compounds. It represents similar diversity, but less amount of compounds from each scaffold. And also, last year, we created the big square cassette, that is the big covalent cassette. So this is a cassette of covalent compounds. We have 500 compounds, and a set of those are fragments, and another set of those are small molecules. So depending on the interest of the group and the type of biology they want to interrogate, we may provide each of the 5 cassettes, or we may tailor depending on the needs of the academic group. All of the compounds have a greater than 80% purity, and also they belong to our collection, so they may have data for the other targets we have explored, and also data about metabolism, solubility, physicochemical properties, are another data that can be of interest for the academic groups. Our areas of interest are mainly endocrine. In endocrine, we work in diabetes and cardiovascular and diabetic complications, also NASH. We work in oncology and immuno-oncology. We also work in neurodegeneration, mostly Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And we started small molecules for autoimmune disorders a couple of years ago, so we have also interest in the immunology area, and we also have a group that is working on pain. And with the collaborations that we have already established in the emerging biology field, most of them are in the oncology area. This is where we receive more proposals in oncology. After oncology, neurodegeneration is another hot area where we receive a lot of proposals. We receive a few proposals in the endocrine area, but not many, very little from pain. And then we have here other collaborations that we have established in different areas. So I'll be in BIOSPAIN for the rest of the meeting, and if you want to contact us, you can do it through our Open Innovation webpage, or at our email at Open Innovation, or sending me an email at amgrau@lilly.com. And well, thank you very much for your attention, and you have any questions, I think if it's quick, we can answer, otherwise we will leave it for later on.
Any question? Okay. The next company will be MSD.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present, and thank you to you for coming along to hear us present in this session. My name's Phil Louillier. I head up business development for MSD for Europe and for the Middle East. Our forward-looking statement. Firstly, a little bit of background on MSD. We're known as Merck in the US and Canada and MSD outside the US and Canada. A bit confusing sometimes, but I hope it's clear. This is our 128th year of operation, so a relatively long history, you could say, and a long history of developing innovative drugs and taking drugs to patients that have an impact on the lives of patients. We are in the pharmaceutical business, vaccines, biologics, and we have quite a significant animal health business. We invest one of the largest sums of our revenues into R&D, which is a reflection of a very R&D-driven biopharmaceutical company. Just a slide to illustrate the legacy of drugs over our history. Some examples of drugs that we've developed, going right back to vaccines, MMR vaccine as an example of the vaccine space, cardiovascular drugs, more recently Gardasil, the first vaccination to protect against HPV cancers, and then more recently drugs such as Keytruda, PD-1 antibody, Zepotir, Hep C drug. So a long legacy of developing drugs and taking them to market. And we are very committed to continue to tackle some of the biggest challenges in healthcare: Alzheimer's, antimicrobial resistance, diabetes, vaccines, HIV. This slide illustrates our current late-stage pipeline. It's on the website. I won't dwell on it, other than to say it illustrates where we're working in oncology, diabetes, schizophrenia, HIV, and a range of other disease areas. This slide is an example to illustrate our development muscle, our development skill, and our capability. 4 or 5 years ago, we weren't an oncology company. We're probably the leading immuno-oncology company today. Everybody probably knows that we and others have hundreds of trials, single agent and combination studies going on in immuno-oncology. What you probably don't know is we now also have 20 new mechanisms in discovery and in early development. So we've moved on rapidly from PD-1, from Keytruda, into a range of new mechanisms and have many approvals, as you're probably aware, in oncology, in immuno-oncology for Keytruda in a broad range of cancer indications. So very quickly, we've developed to become perhaps the leading immuno-oncology company, but on the back of that, have many new mechanisms and many new partnerships to build strength in the oncology space. Just an example of our development muscle and success. Partnerships. I want to focus for the rest of my presentation on partnerships. Critical for us, and the reason they're critical is this is the way that we identify innovation and take innovative drugs to patients, but also it's critical to us because it's a significant part of our revenue. And here's a few examples of drugs that have come from partners. And last year, 60% of our revenue came from drugs that we licensed or from companies that we acquired. So an important part of our business, an important part of innovative medicines to benefit patients. How do we do our partnering and partnerships? Perhaps the first thing to say is that unlike some or many of my peers, we are very, very opportunistic about what we look for. We have some therapy areas that we work in, and I'll show you those shortly, but we are very opportunistic outside those therapy areas, looking for new mechanisms, and we'll basically take a look at whatever you're working on within or outside the therapy areas we work in. We look to build programs and promising approaches and move them forward. We're really looking for things that give us unambiguous promotable advantage, significant advantage to patients. This slide shows you our core therapy areas. There's 5: oncology, neuroscience, infectious diseases, vaccines, cardiovascular, metabolic, and immuno-oncology. Those are our core internal areas, and just to re-emphasize, we are also opportunistic outside those areas. We don't have, I'll say, a shopping list of what we're looking for. To us, you don't define innovation, you actually go out and look for it and identify it by what you see, rather than you have a list that says we're looking for particular things. So a very important part of how we operate. In terms of our global operation as a business development team, we've set up hubs in key centres of scientific endeavour. In Europe, we operate out of London, and we have a hub there. And we also have hubs in San Francisco, Cambridge, Mass, Japan, and Asia Pacific in Shanghai. Our business development hubs are co-located with some of our science activities, and we work quite closely together with the local communities to build collaborations, build partnerships. This is the European team. Both myself and Michelle DeBar are here for the duration of the conference. Michelle looks after cardiovascular, metabolic, infectious diseases, cataract, oncology, and myself, neuroscience. And we carry out our transactions locally also. Just a couple of slides to illustrate our commitment to Europe. We've been changing the way we do research, moving out of New Jersey, shall I say, to centres of research and focus. Established a couple of centres in Cambridge, building a new research facility in San Francisco, and very relevant to us in Europe is we've announced we're building a research facility in London, the European Centre. 150 scientists will populate the centre over the next couple of years, a real commitment to European research and development. The centre is headed by Fiona Marshall. Some of you may know her, ex-Heptares and GSK, and it will focus on diseases of ageing. So mechanisms such as autophagy, mitophagy, senescence, cell homeostasis are all very interesting to us, particularly in this centre. The centre will have a focus on neuroinflammation, and neuron will be the initial cell type. We're very keen to establish very early stage academic or biotech collaborations with this centre as it establishes. It's up and going now. We're open for business. We have a venture fund, MRL Ventures, for those that have come across it before, investing in both Europe and the US. Our first investment in Europe is Lava Therapeutics, a Dutch gamma delta company, but also we've done a range of investments over the last 12 months in the US. We focus on preclinical stage investments, and we'll syndicate or lead investments. Happy to talk to you later about it. This slide just illustrates some of the partnerships that we've done over the last 12 months, and I use it to say we do all sorts of partnerships. What am I looking for? We weren't in ophthalmology. We did a collaboration in ophthalmology recently, and we've moved into that space. So there's an example of how we're opportunistic. Acquisitions. We bought Rigontech for its oncology asset last year. The partnership with AstraZeneca in oncology, you've probably all seen that. FinGen is a research collaboration with biobanks in Finland. Us and a number of farmers are in that very, very early stage, you could say pre-competitive collaboration. So a wide range of deals. We fit the deal to the partner and to the opportunity. This slide just illustrates some of our partnerships across Europe, and it's really here to say we're very active in Europe. We acquired Rigontech, we partnered with AIM, we did a major partnership with AstraZeneca, oncology collaboration with 4D, so very active. Thank you for the opportunity. Very happy to talk to anybody after this session further.
Thank you so much, Phil. And the last presentation will be Novartis.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for the organizers to invite us to give this talk, and thank you for being here this afternoon. I understand I'm between you and the break, so I'm going to try and make it as interesting as possible for all of you. And after listening to three very interesting presentations, I'm going to try and convince you why Novartis is your partner of choice. So Novartis is one of the world's largest companies. Our revenue last year was around 50 billion, of which 9 billion we invested straight back to R&D. We've got a very diverse workforce that is arranged all over the world in around 120,000 people worldwide, as I said. Novartis Group is an interesting amalgamation of departments, and I'm going to try and walk you through our structure. At the center of it, we've got the Novartis Institute for Biomedical Research that's based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they're responsible for delivering the innovative products to our pipeline. So they are responsible from research to phase 2 clinical trials, and there they actually give us the compounds into the innovative medicine space where we take onward the future development. In the innovative medicines place, which is what we call Novartis Pharma, you've got the oncology group and you've got the franchises, which is where I'm part of. We've also got the Sandoz group that deals with our generics and biosimilars, and we're currently spinning off our Alcon division. Our strategy is to build the leading medicine company in the world, and we are currently, with a new CEO, changing our culture. We want to unleash the value of our people. We want to deliver transformative innovation, and we want to go big on data and digital. So as our CEO says, we want to reimagining medicine. 2017 was a landmark for us. We had 16 key approvals, 16 key submissions, 6 breakthrough therapies, 6 positive readouts of potential blockbusters, and 40 molecules that went from our Novartis Institute for Biomedical Research into our Novartis Pharma side. So, like my colleagues, we understand that partnerships are key. In fact, 50% of our key revenues come from partnerships, and we want to do partnerships by targeting business development. One of the areas we want to be in is expanding our current therapeutic areas with new mechanism of actions, and examples of that is the Ciarcos or the Ionis deal. Expanding into new therapeutic areas, an example would be Conatus, or it could be the bolt-on acquisition that we did from Avexis on spinal muscular atrophy, or expanding the geographical scope, which is the deal that we did with Amgen on the migraine drug that's just been licensed. We also have different deal structures to suit the needs of the partner and of the compound. So as I said, straight bolt-on acquisitions. The biggest one that we did in the last 5 years is Avexis, which I just mentioned was for spinal muscular atrophy in children. We also do early-stage deals through our neighbor organization, option deals, straight licensing, commercial deals, and joint investments such as the Qualcomm investment or the Saventure. So we strive to be your partner of choice, and it's not just words that we try and put behind this. We get senior management commitment to any deal that we do, from a small partnership to an option deal. You'll always get the commitment from our senior management from the beginning. We also try and establish effective governance boards that follow the progress of the assets, that listen to the partners' requests. We choose the right people for the right programs. And from the beginning, we have to align on a common purpose. And that's really important for the partnership to succeed. We try and create as much value as possible for the partnership by being flexible, by, as I said before, listening to your needs and your wishes, to utilizing the partner's strengths by fostering diversity and inclusion, which is very big at Novartis, to have a smooth transition for a collaborative and high-performance partnership, and last but not least, we try and do that with as much open collaboration and transparency as possible. So how does BD&L kind of fit within the whole organization that I showed you before? Our neighbor team have their own BD&L organization, and they look for therapeutics, technology platforms, and academic collaborations. In the Novartis Pharma side, you've got us divided into different franchises. I represent respiratory, and you also have a very strong oncology group. We have our own BD&L also in surgical and eye care products in Alcon, and a separate one in Sando. So by having these different groups, you can access the experts straight away, and we can tailor the deals to what your needs are. So in Novartis Pharma, the disease area focus is immunology, hepatology, and dermatology, and each of these areas are a different franchise. The search and evaluation person for the immunology, hepatology, and dermatology is Marcus. For neurosciences, you have Patrick Mueller. For cardiology and metabolism, you have Mireia. For respiratory, you have Ken Shaw, who works for me. And for digital health, we have Rana. I've included in this slide all the different areas within the areas that I've just highlighted with the partner contacts so that you know straight to who to contact. And I believe this presentation will be available on the website. And if not, when I finish the talk, you're very welcome to come and talk to me, and I'll give you my email so I can send you the presentation. Our neighbor colleagues have a very broad scope, so I don't actually envy their job because they're actually interested in many, many different things. But basically accessing novel approaches to treat different diseases and jumpstart new directions, as well as looking for different platforms. They want to identify new therapies very much in the areas that I told you about that we were interested in the Novartis Pharma side, but on top of it, they also have an interest in musculoskeletal diseases and transplantation. These are also my colleagues and the different names that have the different responsibilities, and I do realize it's a busy slide, so it's more for you to have afterwards than to read here. Last but not least, we've got an out-licensing and partnering department who's headed by Jean-Marc Sequier. And there we want to find partners for our development compounds that, for whatever reasons, have been deprioritized and are looking for a home. For products that could benefit from a co-development with either we're needing money or we need expertise or both. And also for products that could have life cycle management areas outside the areas of interest for us. On the other hand, we also do partnership in our marketed brands, either through co-commercialization deals or straight divestments, which you can see from the divestment we've just done now on the Toby franchise that we divested to Mylan. So if you have any ideas on current Novartis assets, then you should be contacting Jean-Marc Sequier. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I've given you a flavor of what Novartis is looking for and how we organized.